So it's a real honor for me to be here with...
Sitting in this seat, I don't know if there's any way out.
I'll help you out. With Barry. Barry is a remarkable person, one of the most amazing people I've met in my life. He's a recurring legend. I mean, Barry, when he was in his 20s, was head of primetime programming for ABC, responsible for the entire network, and he invented, among other things, the movie of the week. At 30 years of age, he was the chairman of Paramount Pictures. You just imagine that, a 30-year-old chairman of Paramount Pictures, and ran Paramount during its absolute golden age. I mean, it had some of the films, and there are a lot of great films, but just some of them are Saturday Night Fever, Grease, Indiana Jones, Beverly Hills Cop, and Reds, which Warren Beatty's Reds was one of the last great epics made in this country. He leaves.
Wonderful film.
A wonderful
really
film.
Wonderful movie. It's going to stand the test of time.
It does.
That movie.
Later at Fox, with Rupert Murdoch, he helped do something that people had thought not possible, which was to launch the Fox network. And it sounds like commonplace now, but to launch a fourth network when the three major networks had dominated the landscape for so long was an incredible move. In the digital worlds, in the last, say, 20, 25 years, he has built IAC into a formidable force in that world, and Expedia, which is a formidable force in the travel world. We're just coming back to we'll go back. Let's do the Mr. Burns right now.
The what?
Okay, so one of the great shows that came out of the Fox network was The Simpsons.
That's true.
And there's a character on The Simpsons that rumor always had it was based on you.
Yeah, but that's, the rumor was...
You've heard it.
Yeah, I've definitely heard it for all this time, but the truth is, the character that was really after me was Marge.
Is that... Not Homer, like most husbands, okay?
No.
I'm just continuing on. We can get rid of that slide now. We won't have to stay there. That's the IAC building in New York, designed by Frank Gehry, one of the landmark buildings in the city, and one of the most iconic buildings built probably in the last 50 years in the city. In the philanthropic sphere, Barry was instrumental in building the High Line, which is quite near the IAC building, and he is the force behind a new park.
But really, Dion and me.
You and Diane, yes.
Without her, it would have been torn down.
Okay, yes. He's also the force behind a new park. You can see a picture right here designed by this incredible designer, Thomas Heatherwick, and that'll float out in the Hudson. We'll come back to that in a few minutes. So he's a philanthropist, a mogul, a businessman, a friend to many. I mean, he's one of the most popular people I know, one of the most traveled men. He loves cars, boats, friends, and I'm so delighted to have Barry as the last guest here.
Thank you, Craig.
Okay. I want to start
John says I'm only happy if there's an engine underneath me.
Is that true? That's funny.
Yes.
I don't know if you heard what Barry said. He said his wife says he's only happy when there's an engine underneath him. Let's talk about the early days at Paramount and what that was like being 30 years old and running the dominant movie studio at that point.
Well, it wasn't when I got to Paramount, and it was. I'd come from television, and I was the first person actually to go into the movie business from television. Today, they would kind of say, oh, of course, television is a much more creative medium, et cetera. But then people in the movie business kind of peed on those people from television and looked very much down on them. So when I came in, first of all, I didn't know what I was doing, but which is the best way to start anything, it seems to me. But when I came in, it took about a couple of years for me to figure it out, and then to kind of make it what I thought, just making it up, it should be. But that 2 years was a terrible period. I mean, we made movies in the class of Reds,
right?
Wonton, the dog that saved Hollywood.
Remember that? Yes.
And other giant.
Was Bob Evans?
Giant turkeys.
Was that the name of a movie, or is that just a description?
No, well, they all could have been. Most of those movies could have been appended turkey.
And Robert Evans, was he under you during most of this period?
No, he, for a very short time, and then he decided he wanted to only produce movies
Yes.
and not be an executive. So
Right.
he transited out
Right.
very quickly.
You at the studio when Godfather was produced? Or was that
No,
after?
I came to Paramount
Before you?
literally when Godfather was in a rough, Godfather II was almost finished in a rough cut. And I remember seeing it, and for those of you who remember Godfather II, which is actually, I think, better than Godfather I, but, and as you may remember, it was essentially the past, and then it would jump forward, and then it would go back, and then it would go forward. And after the lights came up, Francis Coppola said that he was actually thinking of getting rid of the cross-cutting and tell it straight on. And
whole
he
thing.
was tortured by this, which went on for a while until literally he's such a to say he's great is silly, but he tortured this so long that it became academic and he couldn't change it. And thank God he didn't.
Do you remember the first sort of turning point decision you made when you were at Paramount? Where you said, this is a good idea, and that's the sort of thing that got the fortunes
Well, oddly,
changed for you?
I'll tell it to you, and you'll all think, that's his turning point, which was I read a script called Bad News Bears, and don't look like
I'm
that.
not looking like anything. Yeah.
Did you see Bad News Bears?
I might have. Yeah. Oh, no, it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I can tell. Look at you. Anyway, and I thought, this is a really good script. And they said, yes, but it doesn't have auspices, it doesn't have a big director, it doesn't have any movie stars, et cetera, et cetera. I said, look, it's a good story. Let's just tell the good story. And we got Walter Matthau, hardly a big star at the time. And oh God, what's his name? I'll forget the name, but Michael Ritchie.
Oh, Michael Ritchie, yeah.
Not at that time. I think it was his maybe first film from television. Anyway, we made the movie, and actually, of all the movies that I not only inherited, but kind of that were already in some stage that I pulled along a bit, plus the new movies we made, were all movies made out of somebody else's sensibility. They were made because the industry wanted them made, or agents wanted them made, or movie stars wanted them made, et cetera. And I said, I don't like that. I don't come from that world. I come from television, which is if you have a good story, that's what you make. You make a good story. And then everything else comes behind that. You don't use elements. You don't make packages, et cetera. And Bad News Bears was my indicator among all this bad movies we were making, because it was true to what I just simply believed. So when it became a success, it gave me the energy to then throw out everything that Paramount had and really start making movies we wanted to make. And that turned Paramount.
Was a big hit.
It was a big, big hit.
So when 20 years ago, when Paramount came up for sale, you wanted it.
That is true.
And it may be up for sale again.
I don't want it now.
Why did you want it then?
And why don't I want it now?
Why don't you want it? I was coming to that.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, you're good at follow-up. Okay, so, well, I wanted it then because after I left Fox, we bought into QVC, and, that started to kind of skyrocket. So we had this very valuable stock. And Sumner Redstone had actually made a deal for Paramount, but we thought he cheesed it out, that he had offered too little money for it, that it really was worth more money.
Being sold by Gulf and Western.
It was being sold by a company called Paramount Communications,
Okay, Paramount Communications.
which owned it, which was run by a tyrant named Marty Davis. And so I overbid Sumner Redstone, and that eventuated into a 6-month back and forth war over buying Paramount. And in the end, I was very, my excuse is that I clutched, I didn't do it. In the end, he topped our last bid and I didn't top that. And so he ended up buying Paramount. Now, the truth is, I should have done it, but I was chicken.
I know that you were sort
How
of.
was that for brilliant, sophisticated business terminology?
And I remember you famously said next,
I did.
but you're not interested now.
Oh, I can't imagine why anybody would want a movie company today. They're all, they don't make movies. They make hats and whistles and merchandising items and things like that. And this whole concept of tent poles that you can't run a successful movie studio unless you're in the franchise business. It's okay. It's just boring.
What about HBO? What if you could buy that?
Oh, that's not Paramount.
Right, I know. Would you be interested? Say you buy HBO. Would you be interested?
Can I?
No, I don't know. I mean,
you
can subscribe
could you
to
talk
it.
to Richard? Of course you buy HBO, because that's the greatest gig in the world. Here, you actually get to do whatever you think that will satisfy the audience. It doesn't matter that they actually watch everything. It just matters that at the end of the month, before they terminate their subscription, they say, oh, and they don't even, by the way, say that. They just live with it. So you have this huge amount of revenue, huge, and you get to make anything. It's the greatest,
Yep.
I mean, it's probably the greatest entertainment job known to man.
Mm-hmm. I think he thinks that, yes.
Yeah, well, he should.
Okay, so you and I have known each other a good while, and but I didn't know you as a sort of teenage boy. I know there's a Barry Dale Drive.
There is
in
that.
Beverly Hills. What were you like as a kid? What were you like as a kid that led you to get here?
Anger.
About what?
No.
There's a Barry Dale Drive. How can you be angry?
I wasn't angry, but I was frustrated for sure, for all sorts of kid reasons. And my family never thought I would actually work. They thought they would just support me and that would be okay because they were fortunate. But I had no seeming ambition. And if you ask me where did this well suddenly juice fire up it, because that's kind of what happened, which is I didn't want to go to school. That was like the big thing, which is my friends were all going off to college. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to go to school. I didn't like school. I never really learned much in school. I read tremendously. That's how I was educated, simply by reading and by curiosity. And I thought, I don't want to go to school. I don't want to do anything. I don't qualify for anything. I will go to the beach.
And did you?
Oh, frequently.
Were you? I mean, you've always struck me as something like you never see you stop moving. You're just like a shark that wends through waters and slowly and it never stop.
No one would have thought that.
That's so
Least of all me.
But what took
But
you?
what happened is that I had known that I'd known. My instinct was I loved the entertainment business. That's what.
Because you grew up in Beverly
Well, I
Hills.
grew up and my friends' parents were,
Like Danny Thomas and people like that.
Yeah. And I remember I went to Doris Day's son was my best friend in high school, and I went once to Universal to watch her shoot. It was one of those lover come back movies or movies with Rock Hudson. This is in the 1920s, of course. And I thought, I don't want to be in front of that camera, but I really want to figure out everything around it. And I had no idea how to do it, and it wasn't, it was a kind of low burn. It wasn't, big fire stuff. But I went to William Morris to the mailroom because I thought, well, that's a university I want to go to. Because.
But did you know that the William Morris mailroom was where everybody got their start, or was you just pick the most famous agency at the time?
No, I didn't. I mean, one of my other best friend's father was their biggest client. So
Who was that?
That was Danny Thomas.
Okay, Danny.
So I said to him,
Danny Thomas was their biggest client?
oh yes, he was.
Wow.
He was. I mean, at that time, this is the 60s. Yeah, at that time, he and his partner had 5 of the top 10 television series.
Including his own, I guess.
Including his own, but it was a huge story. So anyway, He said to me one day, while I was lolling around, because I spent half my life in their house, he said, I think, I was 19, doing nothing, wastrelly, and he said, you really should, and I said, well, I'm really interested in entertainment, I don't know what to do. He says, will you go to the mailroom in the William Morris office? And I said, okay. So I was not very engaged in like some big, ambitious pursuit, but the day I got there, and the day I got to the file room, there was a thing called file rooms then, where they had actual paper and files all around a big room. And I literally read from A to Z. I read the entire history of the entertainment business. And that just wazzed me. So,
who was in the mailroom when you were there?
David Geffen was in the mailroom, and I think Sandy Gallen was in a competing mailroom, but we knew each other a bit.
And you're lifelong friends since then.
We've all been friends.
Did you see that David Geffen would become successful? Could you see it at that
Well, I'll give you an
mailroom
example.
age?
Here I am, and I just started, so I wasn't really that gung-ho about the whole thing. And I think it was Christmas, and this scrawny little person comes into the mailroom, introduces himself, hi, I'm David Geffen. And I said, oh, do you work here? And he said, oh, no, I work in the New York mailroom office. And I said, oh, why are you here? And he said, well, it's Christmas, and I thought I should come out here and check out this thing. And I'm thinking, oh, my God.
Why?
That's really serious.
Okay.
Christmas for me, Christmas was going to ski in Europe.
Okay, yeah.
What did I know
from
from actually traveling across country to go to another mailroom? It must be crazy. So, yeah. It wasn't a surprise.
Well, the one thing about you is you're great friends with everybody you seem to have worked with. Like, you're still good friends with Michael Eisner and with Rupert Murdoch. Who do you not talk to?
Who do I not talk to? Oh, actually, almost no one. I don't know why. The real reason? It's not.
I think it's telling the truth, too, yeah.
Well, what do you think? You think I'm lying, Hillary?
No, I'm saying, I know you're telling the truth because you speak to yourself friends with everybody.
Well, no, it's that the truth is, it's not that I haven't, I've certainly had fights with people and all of that. But the thing is, I have a great, absolutely non-earned gift. I can't remember. I actually, truly can't remember. And it's like when somebody says to me, but didn't that person do this or that? And for some reason, I can remember the facts, kind of, but I can't remember the emotion. And it just can't happen. So I'm lucky.
I mean, you probably don't have an average day, but what if you do have an average day?
Thank God I don't. That's the
let's
luckiest thing.
Let's
say I had to have an average day.
Let's say you're in New York, and what's an average day there?
Well, we've got 3 public companies, so...
what time do you get up?
The issue is not me getting up. The issue is me getting out. Because getting up, I get up early. But if you leave me alone, and I don't have to go anywhere, I don't have to go put on a costume and go, I will basically stay in my bed forever. Because to me, the best time, the best working time for me is being in my bed, doing my email, doing my, actually research on research, following my little curiosity, under the covers.
Like on your lap, just typing on with the computer on your knees and everything like that?
It's not quite on my knees.
Okay.
You really want to know exactly where it is?
Breakfast tray. Wait, okay.
There's no breakfast. There's no tray.
Okay.
No, I really. So that to me is the most productive time of the day. Because I like working. I work actually 7 days a week. I really like working in the mornings. But then I have stuff to do. So I have to go to my office and dress up, and I do that, and then I go back to bed.
When you come home from work?
Not really.
Okay.
But I don't know. I don't typical. What's your typical?
No, that's
No,
not
what?
the game
Don't
here.
shuffle your little cards. Right to the end of this thing. Don't
yeah.
you all want to like break this thing down? What's
No.
your what?
Trying to figure out what your typical day is.
See,
So,
you won't go there.
do you talk on the phone all day long, or
Oh no,
or at all?
I used to talk on the phone like every clown. I would. I mean, particularly if you're in the entertainment business. I mean, during those days, you'd have like literally hundreds of calls, and that is gone.
Wasn't the rule you had to return every call by the end of the day?
Yes, it was awful.
Yeah.
And I lived that for a long, long time. But thankfully, I could return every call of the day in a minute and 3/4.
Phone call is sort of over, isn't
It's
it?
over. You
Yeah.
just don't do it anymore. And the thing is before, I was so attached to the phone, I really didn't know anything else. Now, you know, if the phone rings, it's like an invasion. It's like, what is that thing doing ringing?
And what time do you go
You know
home?
what my ring is on my cell phone?
What? I don't know what.
A dog barking.
Okay, yeah. Like Shannon, your dog? Or Shannon?
It's a dog barking.
So then you go home at like what time? Like 7 o'clock?
I don't know.
Okay.
You know?
And,
I go home.
Pick
when,
a
I go
time.
home when it ends.
Okay. And then you go out.
I either will stay home, or I will go. I mean, you know, New York, as we know, because we go out sometimes in the same odd situations. And but you know, the fantastic thing about living in New York, which to me, a steady diet of it, would kill me. But I do go out. But Dion, my wife, and I like going to stuff and seeing people and doing that. And every day in New York is stimulus from something. I mean, whether you want it or not, if you live something of it's not a public life, but if you have any interest in being stimulated, if you have no interest in being stimulated, it'll come at you. You then get to choose from what you do. So it's a big souffle.
It is a big thing. So, talking about New York, so you've the last sort of 15 years, you've made sort of an imprint in sort of a philanthropy and in the visual aspect of New York, and first the High Line, and now Pier 55. And tell us the origins of that, and how did you come out choosing the man who now happens to be the principal designer in the world right now?
Well, it started with, after the High Line, Diana Taylor, who's a friend of ours, and was the chairman of the Hudson River Park Trust. And they had a pier, it was called Pier 54, and it was falling apart. It used to be the pier that they would do concerts. But it was a mess, and they literally had to tear it down. So she came to me and said, would you be interested in rebuilding it? And they showed me, they had done some drawings and renderings, and it was like a normal, like a flat pier, rectangular, because that's what piers were, because you park boats on either side of them. And they had a few trees on it and whatever. And I said, well, that seems kind of boring, but I do love water, and I do like the idea of parks and things, to say the least. So if you'll let us be ambitious about it, and they said, sure, you know, you're the fool who's spending the money. You can be as ambitious as you like. So out of that iteration process came the thing of first saying, well, you don't need to make it rectangular because no piers are going. So let's have a bit of a mini competition. And
This is you talking with Diana.
well, kind of, yeah, yes. Okay, so we had Calatrava and Bjarke. You know Bjarke? And it's a wonderful architect, Bjarke Ingels, and Heatherwick. And I found Heatherwick because some years before, I'd gone to China to the Shanghai Expo. And one of the most extraordinary things I've ever seen was the British Exposition, which I don't know if you have seen it, but it was literally thousands of seed pods.
I have seen that.
It was just, I mean, it won the Shanghai Exposition, some of the greatest architecture imaginable built just for the exposition. Anyway, so I'd seen that. So he was one of the three. And it was just clear. His concept was so thrilling that I thought, oh my God. I mean, first of all, could you build it? Which no one thought you could. And then iterating, we chose him, and then we started working on it, and we now have, I mean, we're now driving piles into the Hudson River. We have 550 piles we have to drive, and we're on our way. We're doing it.
Is this? Did you anticipate some of the opposition to it?
No. As a matter of fact, I thought, dope me, I thought.
Can we explain what some of the opposition was?
Yeah, I thought, well, why would, I mean, we're building a park. It's all our money. We're not asking anybody else's money. And it's for the public, and it's a performance center that's going to originate rather than simply be a stopping place on a tour of people. It'll originate musical theater, ballet, spoken theater, etc.
You brought in some amazing people to work on it.
Yeah, and my little partners are Scott Rudin, Stephen Daldry, and George Wolfe. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's good casting, or they're fantastic. So it's very ambitious, and I thought, whatever, why would anybody? And in fact, we went through community boards, we did all this stuff, and we had overwhelming positive support. And then this group of three people sued us. And in the beginning, they sued us for odd things, like there is in the Hudson a fish called the American eel. And the American eel craves light. And they said, since we're going to build this flat thing, that there would be less light for the American eel, and therefore we should not build a pier.
You're trying to be funny here.
To which I said, no, this is a true thing. I said, the Hudson River is 167 miles long. Why can't the eel go someplace else? That didn't work.
No.
So they sued us for that. They sued us because we did not do what's called an EIS, environmental survey. What we had done, everything that was, it's too complicated to bore you with, but flimsy things that were odd because, and I couldn't figure it out until I found out that the three people, one of whom was named Durst from the very honorable Durst family killing machine.
No, that's one member, Robert, yes.
He should have killed his brother.
Okay.
Anyway.
He's our landlord at the World Trade Center.
Is he?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you're in for it, honey.
Yeah.
So I found out that it didn't have anything to do with what we were doing. It had to do with basically the anger and revenge that they wanted to wreak on the Hudson River Park Trust, which is essentially our landlord. Because years ago, the Hudson River Park Trust had spurned Mr. Durst. And so I went to see him. I didn't know him. And I explained, I said, what don't you like? He said, oh, no, I think what you're doing is nice. I don't have any objection to what you're building. But I don't like the fact, this is what he said to me, he said, I don't like the fact that the Hudson River Park, which as you know goes from, Battery Park all the way up to basically George Washington Bridge. He said, I don't like that all the plantings are only green. I said, okay. He said, there's no color, and there should be, and they don't maintain it. I said, okay, that has nothing to do with my little pier. And I said, seems awfully cruel. I mean, we're putting up a lot of money to build this thing. Get the money, but it's like not we're asking anybody else. It seems cruel. Can't you, find something else to object to and that they do? And I said, isn't there some way? And I mean, it just seems like cruel. And he looked up at me and he said, you have my sympathy. and I got up and turned around and left that room.
I can imagine.
Anyway, so he's been suing us,
Okay.
but we're moving.
Okay, is there an element of competitive philanthropy going on in New York between you and David Geffen and Ronald Perlman and
Oh, my
Steve
God.
Schwartzman?
No.
That's all the,
Well, one thing is, we're calling ours Pier 55.
right, I mean, as opposed to Diller Island or something?
Yes.
Yes, okay, yeah.
No, no, look.
But yes, yeah, that's a good point.
So I don't think it's competitive. I think it's fantastic.
Yes, I do too.
I mean,
But
they're all putting up money to maintain or...
this is about baby boomers leaving a legacy, in part. Well, wealthy baby boomers.
Is it?
I don't know, I'm asking you.
Look, here's the thing. I and my wife don't think it in legacy terms. After all, as I say...
Everybody does. That's impossible.
No. Our name's not on it, so it's not like we're...
No,
it's not like we're building some monument. The thing is, we're doing it because we're lucky enough that we can. That's really the truth.
Okay, there you go.
We're truly lucky. That's one reason.
Right,
And the
yes.
second reason is I love building things.
Yes.
And I like building things that, people will kind of partake in. I mean, I've always loved public art. You show me something and I say, how did they, so long ago, how did they build that thing then? And it is its own legacy. And I think that's great. And
Your father was a builder.
yeah, he was. And if you're lucky enough to be able to do it, what the hell else are you going to do? I mean,
You could give it to the poor, but it distributes. There's nothing concrete left.
well, giving it to the poor. We do not only do, the philanthropy does not only do this, it does not only build things, which it likes to do because we like public art, but as you know, my wife's very involved in issues for women, and so there's a lot of work we do there. One of our children is very much involved in transgender areas of education and things like that, and another of our children is building basketball courts in underprivileged areas all over. So, what we do, which is great, there are 4 people in the family. Each of them is a little idiosyncratic, thank God, and everybody's got their interests, and we're lucky enough that we got funds. So,
I want to do a quick word association thing. Money.
green,
Water.
my boat Eos.
Okay, why don't you talk a bit about your boat? It's one of the most beautiful boats on the high seas. And
What do you want me to say? You just said it.
you live on it almost.
Oh, yes. I mean, if you catch me there. I mean, there's nothing, it's to me the last place that you can live a certain way that you could have lived if you had like a lot of resources, if you lived 100 years ago or 80 years ago. That kind of still makes sense. And it's not obscene, it doesn't seem, it's not display, so to speak. And again, I love water. So, it's hard for me. As my wife says, water and an engine underneath me, smiles.
I was going to say air.
Yes.
If I said the word air, what do you think of?
I think of that I will be breathing easier after I get off the stage.
Love.
My wife.
Okay. Yeah, I believe that, yeah. And I wanted